All right, everybody, here's what we got. So, as you know, and I'm not going to sit here bitching about the bad case knife that's a piece of crap. As you know, I've been on a kick lately on traditional knives. And so I do have a good case. I got my especially tasty Boker cattle knife in curly birch. Wonderful. Very sexy. And I've recently been exposed to the Rough Rider Reserve line, which are really nice, especially for the sweet, sweet price that I've been paying at my local knife shop, which is Old Town Cutlery in Cumming, Georgia. Yes, I said Cumming, giggity. That's the name. I didn't name it, it just is what it is. Oh, sounds like my washing machine's out of balance, probably because my wife is washing, I don't know what. I guess we'll let that run its course for a minute. There's always something in my videos. Even when there's nobody in the frickin' house, I still can't get a quiet house. So, anyway, got the Rough Rider. This is called the Common Stock, which is really, really nice. It's an amazing knife. They're like 60 bucks. I ended up getting them for 35 bucks. There's a whole table of Rough Rider Reserves. So these are their more premium lines, using D2 steel and really nice construction. And everything on that table was 35 bucks. I've been thoroughly impressed with this bad boy. So we've got our sheep's foot. We have a common screwdriver with a bottle opener to open up your beer, White Claw, whatever. And then, of course, you've got your main blade. Nice, fits in my hand. Very cool. And the quality and fit and finish is very close. And I mean, I would say it is absolutely as good as my Case Trapper, the one that doesn't suck. So I went over there today to see, well, what other ones do they have on sale? So what did I get? Let's see. We got a Folding Hunter. That one was not on sale. But these ones, this one was 58. This one was 63. Both of them were dropped down to 35. Now, this is that one. It's a common stock. I like this so much, I want a spare. If I ever lose it, break it, someone steals it out of my car, whatever. If something ever happens, I want another at that price. Not that $63 is much, but for $35, why not have that? Throw that aside in the drawer, and if I ever want it or want to give it away to somebody, I got a brand new one sitting there waiting in the wings. This other one is another reserve. This one is called, this is called the Whittler, and it's a Rough Rider Reserve Model 003. Comes in another tin. Comes with microfiber. And this one, also D2 steel, nickel silver bolsters. This is some kind of wood or micarta. I'm not even sure. Got a price tag on there. We need to peel that off. And so what is the difference between that one and this one? Well, this one, as I said, has your different blades there. This one has a little different shape in the handle, and it has a large spear point. It also has a small whittling knife, nice fine point there. And it's got a pen blade. So two nice small blades for maybe more fine, detailed work. And then a much bigger knife for heavier chores. I mean, this is a fairly beefy blade. This is a nice blade. Edge is nice and sharp. It's got a nice grind. Pretty thick stock. And I'll say that's one difference right here is look at the blade stock on that one. That one is twice. Now this one sits in the middle. So this is interesting because on the Stockman, your blades are slightly almost curved because they've got to, well, no, I guess on this configuration, the way they've cut that, on most Stockmans, they'd be rubbing on each other. And so one has to be slightly curved because it's a two-layer knife. The large blade takes up the entire layer on one side, and the other two share. Now, if they were shorter, they could be exactly straight and centered, and they wouldn't hit. They wouldn't hit, where the tips are, because there'd be a little bit of a gap. But because the blades are usually long enough, they go past the center on each, so there is overlap. Here, they got around that problem by having a screwdriver, and one edge is flat, and that edge is beveled, which moves it out of the way of that blade so that it does not rub, which is clever. Here, these are short enough to have they're each on their own spring, and they're off to the side. This is almost a double thickness blade, and it uses both springs. So that is a very strong, I like that. I like that a lot. That blade is now in the center. It uses both springs, so even though it's a slip joint, it feels really secure. And when you close it, it goes right in between those other blades. That's a cool design. I like that a lot. Very cool. Comfortable in the hand. Got a swell in the middle, right for where your palm is, and then tapers back down. That is a very comfortable knife. I would say that is more comfortable because one thing you don't have, you see how these blades kind of stick up? A lot of Stockmans are like that. They're tall because you got to, when this blade's in there, this has to be tall enough to get a handful on and stuff like that. So when you look at this, that blade tapers down, which is good for cutting tasks like that. But you feel those blades right there, how far they stick out right into your hand. It's not uncomfortable, but they're there. These sit far more recessed. You barely feel those. They feel like the handle. If I hold this way versus this way, I don't feel much of a difference. That is a much more comfortable handle. I may carry this one over that one. Even though I like the Stockman design, this gives me those other small blades. So if I just need a small utility knife or I'm whittling or doing any fine work, of course I just closed it on my finger. That'll start bleeding in a minute. Very sharp tip. Wasn't paying attention. Somewhere I've got some Band-Aids. Actually, I've got Band-Aids from, let's see, did I keep them? Yup. Here we go. Old Town Cutlery. When you buy knives from them, they give you free Band-Aids. Oh, that's funny. We don't want to show too much blood on here because YouTube will demonetize the damn video. So give me 1 second here. Yeah, I just closed that right on my finger. It's superficial. It's not deep. That'll stop bleeding in a minute, but I don't want to bleed while I'm doing the video. So there we go. We got, looks like Bugs Bunny Band-Aids. Sweet. Well, the tip is sharp. And then you've got this little penknife, again, for small work. I like this better. I'm glad I went back there today. This design feels better in the hand. I really like this big working blade. That's a very cool blade. I love the fact that there's really no flex in that. That's a big blade. That one flexes a bit. It's a thin blade. Now, this might be a slightly better slicer. We'll see. But, yeah, the way that this fits in my hand with that's a better feeling knife. There's my new favorite Rough Rider right there. But wait, there's more. So we've got this one. We'll go ahead and open that bad boy up and leave that there. And then I've got something else that is entirely different. This is a Rough Rider Reserve. So again, sticking with the more expensive ones. And I say more expensive, 49 bucks. It's a lot of nice knife here for the money. I'm not worried about it because I don't collect knives in that sense, so I'm not caring about ruining the box. I do, however, of course, keep these because those are really nice. It's a nice knife case. So let's go into this one. Silica, in case you get hungry, you need a snack, go ahead and chew on that. All right, let's throw that in there. Another rubber band. And another one of these microfibers. These are really nicely packaged. So this is what I've got. I wanted one because I do prefer locks on my knives, at least for some knives, just for the safety aspect. But I wanted something that was, again, more classical. So rather than my Mall Ninja Tacticool, I don't know why this guy's over here by himself. Let's get him out and show him in all his glory. I wanted to get one. This is micarta nickel silver bolsters. Nicely done. And this is also D2. All of these are D2. And I know that's a basic steel. It's probably the most common steel coming out of China these days. I'm fine with it. But this is beautifully executed, as are all of these. But look, like there's the transitions here, smooth. There's no hot spots that I'm feeling. The back, all nicely polished. Very good job. That point, I see like on some of the buck knives, that edge right there, sometimes there's a gap and it sticks up. So when you rub your thumb this way, it catches on that sharp edge. That is perfectly, I mean, look at that. The transition is gorgeous. It's beautiful. Just big enough to fit in my hand. You do have a lanyard hole there for a reverse grip, nice and comfortable, follows the natural line of your hand. So this is the model Rock River. I'm so used to like with rifles, AR-15s, Rock River arms. Let's see, it's the Rough Rider Reserve. This is their folding hunter. It is a lockback. Spring tension's pretty good. With this, can you open it one-handed? I think I can, but after I just cut one finger, with these kinds of knives, you want to be careful because that spring tension, if you get it up part way and your finger's right there, I don't want to have it come down and close on the on my fingertip and basically circumcise the end of my fingers. But really nice. Brass bolsters, or is that nickel silver? It's hard to tell in the lighting in here in my room. Yeah, it's all nickel silver. Beautiful. You can't feel those. Like those are polished in there perfectly. Good job. Good job. Couple nice little grooves there, a little bit of texture. That is a really nice little folding knife. So if you want something that's a little more hard use, something that's got nice thick steel, something that is a little safer. So if you wanted to pierce something or do any kind of more heavy duty chores than what you might do with a slip joint, you have that added safety. It's in a spot on your hand where it's not going to close on you. There's no part of, I've had some where it's down near the end. And so that part of your hand actually pushes in on it when you grip. And so if you were gripping it and pushing it into something, you could conceivably, and I've had it happen where it started to close. Oh, got a little blood coming through the Band-Aid. Sorry about that. Not as sorry as my finger is. But in any case, that's my little treasure trove today of value knives from Rough Rider Reserve. They've got their cheaper ones that are 15, 18 bucks and all that and stuff. But these are nice, man. I'm telling you. I mean, yeah, they're not as nice as the Boker. This is a really, really nice knife. However, let's see. This knife, this Boker cattle knife, costs, I paid $64.70 for both of those, $50 for this. So that's $120 plus, yeah, I paid more for this knife than I did for all four of these. So I would expect that to be nicer. But to be honest, if you weren't a knife guy and you didn't know what to look for and you didn't know about Boker, the steel that's made in Solingen, Germany and stuff like that, you might think that these are all around the same price tag. In handling this, it feels, this is not a bad knife. It's not like, oh, it's not bad, like it doesn't suck. These are nice. This is actually a nice quality, beautiful blade, and it's really well done. I like that. That's just big enough. It's in that sweet spot for an everyday carry knife. It doesn't have a pocket clip. It doesn't have any of that fancy stuff. It's not a one-hand opening or even one-hand closing. But that is just a nice traditional lockback. I mean, everything in there, I'm looking inside the machining. I mean, they've polished the springs inside, the insides of the springs. It's one thing to polish all the outside stuff because that's what someone's going to see. But when you take the extra time to where the brass liners are really smooth and mirror polished, the springs and the pins in there, the stop pin, those are mirror polished. When a company takes the time to do that stuff on the inside where you're not really going to see it unless you're looking for it, I like that someone took a little time and put a little, they had some pride about their work. Blade centering is good. You've got to keep in mind on, well, this isn't a slip joint, but it doesn't have, it's got just a tiny bit of a little bit of wiggle. I find that knives that are pinned like that often do. If you don't, stupid washing machine. It's supposed to be self-load balancing too, but of course it never does when I have the camera going. You know, when you've got your more, well, let's see, all my other knives are in the other room, but here, you know, when you have a new, more modern knife, you can adjust that pivot. So if you've got, you know, bronze phosphor or even Teflon washers, you know, you can adjust that to get just the right amount of, you know, smoothness to it, but eliminate the blade play. Here, these are all made by hand. Those are pressed together, the pins are peened over, and then they polish it to make it smooth and make it all look like it's one piece, even though somewhere in there, I can't tell where. They did a good job. I can't see where that pin, maybe I think it's there. I can't see it at all on that side. I think the pin's there, but that's you've got to know, yeah, you've got to know what to look for and see it. But, you know, there, the tension is what it is. And there's always going to be a little bit of wiggle. There's a little bit of wiggle on the case. There's a little bit of wiggle on the $250 Boker. That's just the way it is when you have those kinds of knives. They're pressed together. Some are going to be tighter than others. But when they're tighter, then you're going to get a stiffer blade. It's not going to be as snappy. It's not going to be as smooth. So that's the balancing act when you're hand making a knife. With this, you don't have to worry about it because you can tighten it to where it's where you want. And if it changes over time as the bronze phosphor washers wear in and you get a little more wiggle, you can give it 1/16 of a turn and boom, you're back to tight again. That's not how traditional knives work. They kind of are what they are. So I'm fine with that. That's fine. It's not excessive at all. Not a bad knife. That's a cool little knife. This one is kind of the star of the show. Seriously, that is a really nice blade. It's got a good enough tip for piercing. Yeah, that is nice. Very, very good job, Rough Rider. So anyway, that's my review for today. Still love this case. I do wish it had a half stop, but whatever. That's just how they do it. Love this. I think this is probably the prettiest of them all, other than the Boker. But definitely loving the Stockman. But this one just feels so much nicer in the hand. And I think the assortment of blades is a little nicer. It's got just a bigger, beefier blade. I'm going to enjoy that one. It feels good in the hand. And this little guy, perfect. Just, you know, it's a little small, but I can get a whole hand on it. Just big enough to choke up on and do some cuts. And if I wanted to use that as more of a heavy duty, having that safety feature of the knife, of the lock, so you could stab into something and not have to worry about if your hand slipped and it closes on your hand, that's very cool. So Rough Rider, man, you guys are knocking it out of the park with these things. I'm really, really happy with them. And I got nothing bad to say. Even that $18 one. That one's, you know, more basic, and I wouldn't say is going to make it into my rotation. I got it just to check it out and do a review of it. But that's going to probably, I'll give that away as a gift to somebody. It's in that nice magnetic case that I've got, you know, that it came with. It's, boop. It's a beautiful little knife. Micarta? Not a bad little blade. I'm going to give that away to somebody. I don't know who yet, but someone's going to get a nice little present. Anyway, if you got any questions, hit like, hit subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you have not played with the whatchamacallit Reserve, go check it out. There's another knife I'm looking for because I really do like the Stockman, the 3-blade designs. I want a GEC. I want a Great Eastern Cutlery, a model pattern 82. That's what I've been looking for. Problem is you can't find anything. Basically, they're the Beanie Babies of the knife world right now. Everybody wants to collect them. And so there's a whole bunch of people that as soon as they get them in stock, they don't care what it is, how much, they just buy it because they got to have Great Eastern Cutlery. They really are like Beanie Babies right now. And they're only like $70, $80, $90 knives. They're not really even that expensive. But I definitely want to get one of those because I love it. something about the blade shape, the curves, the way that it's all well rounded. It's just going to take this to another level. But these are really good value for the money. So if you haven't checked them out, do so.